Hey guys, what's going on? Amir here from Adonis Athletics. Today we're going to do a little video on something that actually happened here a couple of weeks ago. A lady came in and she wanted to get some tips on how to improve her deadlift. So we said, all right, let's have a look, let's see what you're doing. We loaded the bar, started warming up. She had started with a sumo stance. She was relatively tall for a girl, and as she started to go up, because in the lighter weights, things don't really come out. The flaws and the problems don't really come out. It always starts to come out more towards the heavier sets, where weaknesses start to really show. So we had a look, and as she was standing, I fixed a couple of things in the sumo and told her to go back and do it. Now, when she started to sumo, we saw that her hips weren't staying down. So here's a problem, a common problem or mistake that people make with sumo. As they start to pull off the ground, they can't pull whilst keeping their torso rigid and relatively upright. What happens is their hips start to shoot up early, and what they end up doing is like a wide stance conventional deadlift. So it looks like this. Instead of looking like this. So what usually that tells me is that it could be a number of reasons for it. It could be weaker quads, it could also be weak hips. And because she was taller, she thought that because of her height, it was a good idea to go to sumo. I said, why have you never trained in conventional before? She said because she had a calf problem. She had injured her calf, she had torn the muscle, and she almost had barely any dorsiflexion, which is like that range of motion, in her ankle. It was very, very stiff, very tight. So to overcome that, because she didn't have much dorsiflexion, she couldn't bend her ankle back to get in a proper conventional stance, because she was getting in a conventional stance and she was almost falling over. It was looking like this. So because she couldn't get in position by bringing her knee forward, her shin forward, she would have to sort of get in this position and be really on her heels, and she would almost fall backwards. And so in her mind, the right way to go about fixing that was to just go to sumo, where the feet are pointed out more and you don't need as much dorsiflexion, which made logical sense, but it didn't work because she wasn't made to do sumo. Her rebuttal was, well, I'm taller, isn't a better thing for me to go sumo because it shortens the distance, etc. And the answer to that is no. Just because you are taller or shorter or whatever, doesn't mean that a sumo or a conventional is the right stance for you. What determines which one of those is the right stance for you is your body proportions. So you may be taller, but your femur might be in a certain proportion to your torso. And that determines what would probably work better for you or worse for you. So what we did instead was immediately changed her to a conventional pull. And because she couldn't get down into proper position with the conventional, what we did was we put heels under her feet. So I just grabbed one of these and literally put it under her feet like that, and she stood on those. She stood on those with just her heels on the plates, and then she found it much easier to get into position without having to have as much dorsiflexion in the ankle. And just by doing that, she could at least get into a position to stay tight, to stay in the right position, you know, with the shoulders on top of the bar and so on, to pull conventional. And within, you know, it was probably about 15-20 minutes now that she had just walked through the door. She pulled a PB right then and there. Her previous all-time PB at that time was 117.5. She pulled 120, no problem. She did it for multiple sets. And yes, that is a disadvantage. Having heels under your feet it is a disadvantage in the deadlift because you're increasing the distance that you have to pull. But in an extraordinary case like that, it makes sense because now she can pull the deadlift with optimal technique, with a deadlift stance that's more suited to her build. And meanwhile, while she's working on the deadlift, she can now go back, see a physio or somebody who is knowledgeable that can hopefully get her to increase her dorsiflexion and just general ankle mobility back. And then she can slowly take away the heels. But definitely going to sumo is not the answer because she is lacking in muscle strength in other places and she wasn't built to do the sumo. So it's not always about whether you're tall or short, just remember that. Sometimes you have to figure out little things, little shortcuts to make things happen until you can make things happen the way they're supposed to be happening. So that's just like a simple thing that we went through, and I'm happy that I got to sort of pick up on it and help her improve and get her lift to come up. We're going to be doing a little segment like this where we're going to be basically answering your guys' questions. Not just me, but me and the other Adonis Athletics coaches and our panel of experts. So obviously we've got our newest addition to the team, Alex Fielding, who's very knowledgeable in movement and rehab. He's going to be chiming in on any questions that you may have that may be in relation to that. We've got our other coach who you guys don't get to see much of, but he does some weightlifting. He's an excellent weightlifter. Philip Lau, he might chime in on some of the answers that you may have. So if you have any questions, just put them up on our Facebook page, on our Instagram page, hashtag Ask Adonis, and we'll pick and choose the questions and we'll reply back to them, and hopefully we can help you guys with some of your training. So until next episode, this is Amir, Adonis Athletics, over and out.